Yeah, it's Clive Roxinger here. Well, this is very interesting. I've solved torque. And you know what's going to be really annoying about this? It's exactly as you would expect it to be. What's all screwed up is that I've been studying this stuff since I was 18 years old, and I could never figure torque out. This T equals FR just didn't make any sense. And you know why it doesn't make sense? Because it's rubbish. What it turns out, I made this up and I thought what I want to do is rotate that around and slam that into something, right? So pivoting around this, and then I realised the weight hitting that is just the bolt. T equals FR is the point of contact. And I just did a whole write-up on point of contact. Here, all this math. But what I realised was that the force, when they talk about force equals torque equals force times radius, the force is all of the weight of the flywheel. So basically, the weight of the flywheel is the force on that bolt. And you're thinking, oh, hang on, no, T equals FA, you've got to divide it by 2. No, you bloody don't. What it is all the weight's concentrated and it fucking slams into the bolt. So if you had a counterweight on the other side, when you slam that bolt into something, the counterweight would push it forward. So it doesn't matter where the weight's distributed on the flywheel, at the end of the day it's all one big lump of metal. And when it hits it all concentrated on T equals FR is the point of concentration, which means that the weight of the whole flywheel is driving that bolt into something. And the stupid part about it is, when you think about it, if it hits something like this, it's friggin' linear, which is also its mass. So if you hit the mass on this side, it's the mass on that side. If the gravity cancelled out, then the gravity doesn't go away. It doesn't cancel. So still that bloody weight hitting that way. This fucking gravity in T equals FR is a lot of fucking horse shit. It's confused me for years. Now power is another one. Power is continuous. Torque can be instantaneous. It can slam into that plate. But it stops. There's no acceleration. There's no driving force pushing it forward. So power, it turns out, is based on 1 second. So how it works out is that you break it down from your RPM, it does 1 rev per second, and then you break that down, it works out to 2 pi radians. And then your power is that multiplied by that, and it ends up at 8.022847 horsepower, which has turned out to be about 17 watt. But the stupid part is that all this stuff just cancels out. At the end of the day, this T equals FR, what's the force? The force is the weight of the friggin' flywheel with a different name. See, the thing that changes is you've got the weight of the flywheel, which is in kilogram or in pounds, but the force is either in Newton or in pounds force in FPS units. But Newton is not pounds. Newton is force. It's a force, and then you calculate your torque from that. Your power in actual fact is continuous. So that means that when you've got say like you've got a small gear driving that, the torque is the rev of the motor, is the revolutions of the motor, and if it's doing 6,000 RPM and you've got a tiny little gear, the torque is huge, but the acceleration is going to be fairly slow. And so that's where power comes into it. And if you want to work power on a static body where it just slams into something, you can calculate the power. It's based on 1 second, so the time frame's 1 second, 1 rotation, 2 pi radians, and that's your multiplier. And you end up with your power. And your instantaneous power, it turned out, was what did it turn out to be? Torque. Oh, the power came out, yeah, I calculated on a 6-inch disc. But yeah, that's T equals FR is a lot of rubbish. All that is point of contact. So basically, that's why they're talking about the sum of this and the sum of that. You can have bolts on there, you can have a flywheel, you can have pins and all that. But at the end of the day, all of that weight combined goes from that radius, and all of the weight's distributed and hits on that bloody bolt. And when it slams into that, that's your mass. This side's your mass. There's no gravity on this side, there's no gravity on that side. It's just that fucking weight hitting that fucking weight. Fucking assholes. I spent my whole life trying to work this out. and now it all makes sense. I haven't completely solved this, but this is why it needs to be focused. There was one thing that I did establish here. What did I find out? There was the point of application. When you calculate the torque, see how you can have a different radius with respect to the size of the flywheel you drive. Your point of application is where your pulley connects. So you can have a really big flywheel, and that's actually a ratio. So basically what you've done is geared that down and increased the torque. The little one's a high torque because it's got a smaller diameter. The larger diameter, the lower the torque, but the faster the speed. So yeah, this stuff all cancels out. It's not as complicated as they make out. And it's always confused me, and why did it confuse me? Because I followed the math, and I didn't follow logic. I always believed that. I always believed it was just the weight of the flywheel. But oh no, T equals FR, now you've got to divide it by 2. What a lot of horseshit. They're playing with your head. The fact is that all the weight is concentrated on that bolt head, and whatever the weight of the flywheel is, it's all combined, and all of the power comes between that swing, and that's throwing that round, but the weight that's behind that is the weight of the whole flywheel. And that's all there is to it. It's as simple as. Bloody bastards. And they could have taught this to you in 2 sessions, in 2 classes. You could have learned this. Oh no, they and you notice that when you do these calculations, they never give you the force. Never, all these years I've been studying this, they never give you the force, trying to figure out what force is. That's why I'm doing all these experiments. And you could have somebody tell you that, oh, the force is just a flight of the flywheel, but it doesn't agree with the math. You didn't do the math for 40 years like I have. And that's why I'm confused, is because the math suggests otherwise. So there you have it. So now this math is going to get all rewritten, and I'm building a machine to test this to verify all of this. So Clive Rocksinger, very annoyed, over and out.